طيب، السلام عليكم يا جماعة. السلام عليكم يا جماعة. يا جماعة السلام عليكم. الجلسة الختامية حتفتتح الآن. الناس تلزم مواقعها.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. السادة والسيدات، حضور الجلسة الختامية لاجتماع المكتب التنفيذي لتنسيقية القوى الديمقراطية المدنية تقدم، اسمحوا لي باسمكم أن أرحب بمشاركة السيدة مونيكا جمعة، مع شكر دولة كينيا لاستضافتها للاجتماع التنفيذي. وأرحب أيضا بمنظمات المجتمع المدني NDI GBG IRI IFES، وشكرهم على الدعم الذي قدموه والذي بسببه كانوا سببا في قيام هذا التجمع، كانوا سببا في قيام هذا الاجتماع. والتحية والترحيب بالإعلاميين. ولأن قلوبنا دائما هناك معلقة في أرض السودان ومع شعبه، دعونا نفتتح برامجنا بنشيد العالم. أرحب بكم مرة ثانية. اختتمت اليوم نهارا الجلسات الختامية للاجتماع أرحب بالبعثات الدبلوماسية معنا وكل السفراء. اختتمت نهارا اليوم جلسات اجتماع المكتب التنفيذي بعد 4 أيام ملأى بالنقاشات البناءة والمثمرة رغم تعقيدات المشهد والقضايا المتنوعة لمكونات والتنوع العريض لمكونات تقدم. وقد كانت خلاصة هذا الاجتماع التوافق حول قضايا مهمة والتي سيتم تلاوتها على حضراتكم عبر البيان الختامي التي ستتلوه علينا الأستاذة رشا. فلتتقدم.
الحضور الكريم، مع حفظ الألقاب والمقامات لكم جميعا، السادة أعضاء السلك الدبلوماسي ممثلي البعثات الدبلوماسية، أرحب بكم ترحيبا حارا. تنسيقية القوى الديمقراطية المدنية تقدم البيان الختامي لاجتماعات المكتب التنفيذي من 17 إلى 20 من ديسمبر. عقد المكتب التنفيذي لتنسيقية القوى الديمقراطية المدنية تقدم اجتماعاً مهماً بالعاصمة الكينية نيروبي في الفترة من 17 إلى 20 ديسمبر 2023، ناقش خلاله التطورات في ساحة الوطن مع دخول الحرب شهرها التاسع واتساع رقعتها وتمددها من الخرطوم لولايات دارفور وكردفان وأخيراً لولاية الجزيرة وتخوم ولايات أخرى، مما يضاعف معاناة شعبنا وينشر مزيداً من الموت والتدمير والتشريد والانتهاكات. وأكد الاجتماع أنه لا بديل لإنهاء هذه الكارثة وانتشال وطننا من شفا حفرة الحرب الأهلية والفوضى الشاملة والتقسيم إلا بوقف القتال فوراً وبدون تأخير، واعتماد خيار الحل السياسي التفاوضي. وشدد الاجتماع بأنه لا حلول عسكرية مشروعة للأزمة السودانية، وأكد أن طرفي النزاع يتحملان مسؤولية الانتهاكات التي نتجت عن هذه الحرب، والتي نؤكد إدانتنا لها بأقوى أشكال الإدانة. حي المجتمعون ذكرى ثورة ديسمبر المجيدة ومحطاتها البارزة التي شهدت جولات من المقاومة الجماهيرية ضد نظام الإنقاذ، حول فيها السودانيون معاناتهم إلى غضب نبيل وثورة على واقع الاستبداد الغاشم، مستهدين بالسطع الدامي المتدفق من شرايين الشهداء، حتى حسموا المعركة لصالح إرادتهم الموحدة بعد 30 عاما لم تتوقف خلالها جولات المقاومة الباسلة إلا لتبدأ مرة أخرى بحثا بدأب النمل عن وطن جديد ترفرف فوقه رايات الحرية والسلام والعدالة. لكن قوى النظام المدحور الآثمة واصلت تربصها بآمال شعبنا وحقه في الحرية والحياة الكريمة، وظلت تضع العراقيل في مسيرة الانتقال حتى تمكنت من تنفيذ انقلاب 25 من أكتوبر. فعاد السودانيون للشوارع والنشيد مؤكدين أن لا قوة على وجه الأرض تحول بينهم وبين تحقيق حلمهم بالوطن الجديد. ومع رفض شعبنا للانقلاب وإصراره على استرداد مسار التحول المدني الديمقراطي، لم تتورع قوى النظام المباد من إشعال حرب 15 من أبريل انطلاقا من سقفهم الأخلاقي الخفيض الذي لا يقيم وزنا لدماء السودانيين وتدمير ممكنات وطنهم ووضعه على شفير الانهيار الكامل والتقسيم، ظنا منهم أن إشعال الحرب سينهي مسيرة ثورة ديسمبر المجيدة ويحقق أحلامهم في العودة للسلطة، متناسين أن ثورة ديسمبر هي الراية والغاية، وأن شعبنا لن يسمح بإسقاط تلك الراية حتى يبلغ الغاية، وهي اللحظة التي يكتمل فيها خلاص الوطن من ميراث حكمهم البغيض، ويصبح وطنا يسع جميع أهله ويحيطهم بشروط الوجود الكريم بلا تمييز ولا تهميش. انخرط المكتب التنفيذي لتقدم في نقاشات عميقة نتجت عنها مخرجات تستجيب للوضع السياسي في البلاد، كما ناقش ترتيبات عقد المؤتمر التأسيسي، وخلص إلى الآتي: أولا، الوضع السياسي الراهن وجهود وقف الحرب، الشروع الفوري في الاتصال بقيادة القوات المسلحة والدعم السريع والجلوس معهما لضمان اتخاذ حزمة من الترتيبات العاجلة لحماية المدنيين وحثهم للانصياع لصوت العقل والوفاء بتعهداتهم المعلنة بعدم التعرض للمدنيين في أماكن سيطرتهما، وتوفير ممرات آمنة، وإيصال المساعدات بشكل عاجل، والعودة العاجلة للتفاوض عبر منبر جدة، والاستجابة لمقترح قادة دول الإيجاد بعقد لقاء مباشر بين القائد العام للقوات المسلحة وقائد قوات الدعم السريع من أجل الوقف غير المشروط لإطلاق النار لمعالجة الكارثة الإنسانية وابتدار المسار السياسي السلمي لمخاطبة قضايا الأزمة بعقل وطني جماعي يفضي للتوافق على مشروع وطني يخاصم الاستبداد ويطوي صفحة الحروب. التواصل مع المجتمع الإقليمي والدولي لدعم جهود الاستجابة للكارثة الإنسانية ومعالجتها، ودعم جهود الحل السلمي التفاوضي. وفي هذا السياق فإننا في تقدم ندعو لعقد جلسات عاجلة لمجلس السلم والأمن الأفريقي ومجلس الأمن لمتابعة التطورات السياسية في البلاد، وتوفير آليات لحماية المدن، وإيصال المعونات العاجلة من قبل المؤسسات الدولية، بما يشمل إنشاء معسكرات للنزوح الداخلي بحماية دولية، ووضع آليات فعالة قيد الاستعداد لحماية المدنيين، وفتح الممرات الإنسانية بإشراف دولي. رحب الاجتماع بتشكيل مجلس حقوق الإنسان لجنة برئاسة محمد شاندي للتحقيق في الانتهاكات والتجاوزات التي وقعت منذ اندلاع الحرب. عقد المؤتمر التأسيسي. أكمل الاجتماع إعداد خطة العمل لعقد المؤتمر التأسيسي الجامع للقوى الديمقراطية المدنية، استناداً على تقارير وخطط اللجان المختلفة، ورفعها للمجلس القيادي الذي أجازها في اجتماع إسفيري بعد ظهر اليوم، حيث تقرر عقد المؤتمر التأسيسي خلال الأسبوع الأخير من شهر فبراير القادم. تقرر تشكيل لجنة تحضيرية تتولى مهام التنسيق والتنفيذ للأنشطة التي تقود للمؤتمر التأسيسي، بما فيها مهمة البناء في ولايات السودان المختلفة وفي المهاجر، لتنظيم أوسع جبهة مدنية ديمقراطية من السودانيين والسودانيات المتطلعين لإنهاء الحرب وتحقيق غايات ثورة ديسمبر المجيدة. هذا وفي خاتمة الاجتماع تقدم المكتب التنفيذي بالشكر لدولة كينيا قيادة وحكومة وشعبا على استضافتها للاجتماع ومواقفها الداعمة لوقف الحرب وتحقيق السلام والاستقرار في السودان. كما توجه الاجتماع بالشكر للمنظمات التي دعمت إقامة هذا الاجتماع، وعلى رأسها GBG، وبشكل خاص الشكر أجزله للسيدة الرائعة حنان عبد الملك، وأيضا الشكر أجزله لNDI وIRI وIFIS. الشكر لهم جميعا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
أرحب بالسادة السفراء والبعثات الدبلوماسية وبالحضور. الكلمة الآن للأستاذ عبد الرحمن الأمين لعرض مخرجات الاجتماع.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by welcoming their excellencies, the ambassadors, and who are attending this event with us, and the distinguished guests, and all of you to this. I have like 3 minutes. I'm nervous trying to do this as quickly as possible. This is an overview of what we have been doing here. We have been here for the last 4 days working on several issues, and this is we were being flown from 10 countries, 43 of us, and the outcome very quickly, do you see it in the screen there? Okay, good. So we go to slide number 2. The objectives were 4 objectives. We were here to evaluate our work and scrutinize and review and enhance. And the participants, as I said, we were 43 brought from, we were 43 people, brought Sudanese, brought from 10 countries. And thanks for the donors, by the way. I thank you for mentioning them. And the outcome, we are broken down into small committees, groups, and this is the major outcome that we have reached. Establish a preparatory committee for the founding convention that will be held in February. And outcome number 2, we established and empowered a political liaison for Foreign Relations Committee and a working group of 8 workshops that will be spread out through the neighboring countries and region. This is also continuation of the outcome. This is the same? Oh, sorry. Okay, here. We were focused on the problems that we have been facing in the past few weeks, and the first one was the confidence building measures that we have tackled, and it's trust building, and then we have also decided that the maximum participation of partisan groups would be 40%, and the code of conduct and commitment amongst all the components of our groups. Keep going back. Okay. And as for the convention, this is the main theme. As I said, it's going to be done in February. That's where the people will be. We did not decide yet on the venue, and by the way, the preparatory committee that you saw on the chart there, this will be the committee that is assigned for this convention, and that's where contacts are channeled, and they would be the one to contact and talk to. And it is not decided yet who is going to lead that committee. It is a committee of 30 people. These are the workshops: security and military reform workshop, justice and transitional justice, local government issues, developing تقدم, negotiations positions, and the economy and reconstruction, and the constitutional arrangements for the transitional period. I see the hands are being told 3 minutes. I'm counting. So we are going to the last shot here, and here. Okay. This is the convention agenda. So it is going to encompass our political vision and recommendations for the workshop, and also the negotiations mechanism that we have set in motion, and the approval of the organizational structure. And thank you very much, and thank you for coming and being with us. Thanks.
أما الآن عن المنظمات الداعمة والمنظمة للاجتماع، مستر ديكسون أمبادي، فليتفضل.
All right, thank you very much. I stand here to speak on behalf of the partners that were involved in supporting Taqdum to put this together, the International Republican Institute, Global Partners Dialogue, GPG, IFES, and the National Democratic Institute, whom I represent. So let me begin first by acknowledging the very important work that has been done over the last 4 days. There has been an attempt to present that in the space of 3 minutes, but you could see how difficult it was because there has been complex discussion, there has been very protracted late night discussions in order to get to a place where Taqadum finds consensus and is able to agree on how to move forward. I particularly want to applaud the progress you've made with respect to your structure, your decision making. I think that's going to be very important to build coherence in the movement. I think that's going to be very important to allow you to get the necessary wind in the sails as you think about the important work that you want to do ahead. I'm also particularly pleased by the progress you've made in acknowledging some of the gaps that need to be addressed. And for us particularly, trying to see how there can be better inclusion and representation of the diversity of Sudanese people in the work you do and in the overall peace process and the planning ahead for a different Sudan. The plans that have been outlined to try and get better representation of women, young people, to try to be more thoughtful about the different geographies of Sudan and how they are represented in this process is very important, and I really hope is something that you can bring to fruition. I also want to acknowledge, and I know this morning there's a bit of discussion around how you engage with the broader publics, the outreach and the communication that you need to do, and that, you know, looking from outside, there is great importance to you trying to be a bit louder so that the world can hear you, so that the Sudanese people can hear you, so that the two folks, protagonists in this whole conflict, can hear you, to be coherent in articulating what the Sudanese people want. So all this, as you plan for your conference in Addis Ababa and for the days ahead, I think is very, very important. I also want to recognize the support that has been provided to civilian processes by the diversity of international community represented here. I don't want to mention each by name, but I know, and if you look around the tables, that a lot of partners have pitched in and are routing for the Sudanese people to succeed, are routing for a Sudan where peace can be achieved and where there can be a return to the democratic trajectory that we were all hopeful about. So I just want to urge members of the international community as well to stay, the course with the Sudanese people and the civilian processes in particular, because it's very challenging. Sometimes I want to have humility, and when you sit down and start discussing about how do you bring peace to Sudan, and you're talking to the people who don't have the guns, it's really challenging, and they need all the support. So thank you so much, members of the international community, and we hope that you will keep working. I want to be very brief and wish you well in your planning ahead. I know the conference is coming up in Addis Ababa. There's a number of workshops you've outlined. I've seen at least 8 of them in the presentation that has just finished. And I know that it will take a lot to achieve all those. But I want to assure you, on behalf of the 4 partners that were involved in this process, and I believe by extension on behalf of the international community and groups that are behind us as well, that we will continue providing you with that support that you need. As you go back to the 43 different places, countries that I saw mentioned here, I want to wish you well, safe travels, and to the extent that one can, have a bit of, end year festivities, that you will also be able to partake of it. I thank you very much, and I wish you well.
نرحب بالسيدة مونيكا جمعة مستشارة الرئيس الكيني ويليام روتو، وفي شخصها نجدد الشكر لدولة كينيا الدولة المستضيفة لهذا الاجتماع. فلتتفضل.
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters, excellencies, good afternoon. Good afternoon. We normally greet in this country. And we don't continue until you greet back, so thank you very much. Let me begin by bringing to this congregation the greetings and apologies of His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, who is away from Nairobi. And I can tell you, if he was and he did contemplate this, he would have been the one speaking to you this evening. The President has asked me to deliver a message to this executive committee meeting of the coordination of the democratic civil forces of the Sudan. He first of all hopes that in this second home of yours, you have been provided the right support and facilitation necessary, and that you'll continue to receive this to give momentum to the efforts of restoring peace and stability in the Sudan. President Ruto's pledge is to stand with the people of Sudan for democracy and for the right of the people to determine the nature of their governance, hopefully as illustrated by their desire for democratic dispensation. This explains the definition and the framing of the Sudan problem by President Ruto. To his mind, 25th of October 2021 defines the departure from the trajectory of a democratic dispensation in the Sudan. The breakout of the war is a tragic manifestation of the sabotage and hostage-taking of the aspiration of the Sudanese people. It is this definition of the problem that saw President Ruto invite and offer facilitation to the civilian political actors to engage as early as day one in an effort to stop the war, to determine the future of the Sudan. And in this definition, Kenya stands and remains available to all efforts, because we believe strongly that there is no other way of forging sustainable peace that guarantees the future of Sudan except by the Sudanese defining it for themselves. We are very pleased that at the last IGAD summit, this matter was settled. Settled not just by the heads of states of IGAD, but also by the two warring parties. On record, both General Burhan and General Hemeti, in their engagement with the summit, submitted that a civilian political process was central to the determination of the future of Sudan. Therefore, the convening of this convention, of this meeting, is timely. It is timely because we believe that it offers the opportunity to begin to drive the momentum, to forge it, to strengthen it, and to keep to the fidelity, to the spirit of the Sudanese people, to forge a people's movement for the Sudan, to allow the diverse nature of the Sudan to speak and define itself, to adhere to the principle of inclusion and a people-led political transition. Therefore, having listened to the summary of the discussions of the last 4 days, I want to commend the success of allowing yourselves the space to debate even difficult issues, because you have to engage with those difficult issues. It is not a Sudanese unique thing. It's an experience every country must go through, because you must forge your own history. There is no doubt that the current situation is worrying. There is no doubt. We are worried that instead of de-escalation, we are seeing escalation of conflict. We are worried that we are entering the 9th month of people being displaced repeatedly. We are worried that violence against the civilians is going. But there are also opportunities. We are hearing growing calls, coalescing of pressure, and I think this is what we must focus attention on. How do we continue to make sure that pressure is intensified in order for the commitments that have been made for unconditional cessation of hostility, for unhindered passage of humanitarian assistance to those that need it, for a face-to-face engagement of the two generals, and to create the space for the civilian-led process to take place. We must push that we see progress in all these commitments. The urgency of this action, particularly as it relates to the humanitarian situation, cannot be emphasized enough. The numbers are worrying, and we must call on everybody to do everything to stop the war and to allow for return of civil activity to support the populations. We have been calling, and President Ruto will continue to call, for the coalescing of efforts so that we can have the support of efforts from a fulcrum, that everybody is engaged and everybody can be held to account, everybody, including partners. And I also want to call for the need for and that call has just been made before I spoke, the importance of everyone to stay the course, so that these meetings do not become events. They must become processes that deliver on the aspiration of the Sudanese people. And that means disciplining our support, holding ourselves to account, and actually looking at each other and asking questions about what we are doing to make this happen. I think this is important, particularly in the light of competing interests. You know, there is not much attention, and that is why the communication bit is very useful, so that we can keep people engaged and stay with the Sudan. And I want in this regard to reiterate Kenya's not just commitment, but Kenya's conviction to offer herself in terms of facilitating these processes, whether it is in terms of venues, whether it is in terms of facilitation, whether it is in terms of sharing our own experiences, whether it is in terms of lending the Sudanese people our voices, and this has been going on, will continue to go on, and you should consider Kenya a champion for the Sudanese cause. I thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing all of us in happier times. So let's go to work. Thank you.
نجدد شكرنا بالسادة أعضاء السلك الدبلوماسي والمنظمات الدولية. وفي الختام نعاهد شعبنا الصابر أن نمضي بعزيمة وإرادة وطنية للدفاع عن حقه في السلام والحرية. شكرا جزيلا.